Hello and welcome to the backfield. I'm your host, Connor Schaff, and welcome to my first mock draft of the 2026 offseason. Now, I gotta be honest, time has just flown by in this NFL offseason, and I honestly have not quite put together in my head that the draft is in 8 days. It is just absolutely insane to me that that's the case. So we're gonna get one mock draft out this week, one mock draft out next week, the day before the draft, and then trust me, we will have some post draft content as well. So look forward to that for sure. But this is a very interesting draft because we just don't know a lot about what these NFL teams want to do. After pick one, pretty much anything can happen. So there's a lot of interesting conversation to be had here. So I'm very excited to get to talk about that with you in this video. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe to the video if you are enjoying it. And also make sure to comment down below any thoughts you have on the video. But let's go ahead and get right into it with the most shocking pick of all time, where we are going to go with Fernando Mendoza at 1. Now, I'll be honest, I actually have an unpopular opinion to where I don't think Fernando Mendoza is the best player in this class. Pretty much everyone has them at number 1 on their big board. I think he is maybe the 4th or 5th best player in this class, but he is a quarterback and he is a very good prospect. So he is going to be the first overall pick to the Raiders. Could maybe somehow we see a trade? Uh, Maybe, but I don't think so. I think we are going to see Fernando Mendoza go to the Raiders with the number 1 overall pick. Next up, we have the New York Jets. And I, up until very recently, thought this was also a pretty surefire pick of being Arvell Reese. But it seems that recently that we've started to hear that teams love David Bailey. Now, I'll be honest, I do not quite see it with David Bailey in the way that some other people do. He is a he's a very good player, but he just, to me, doesn't quite have the same effectiveness that Arvell Reese does, and honestly, for that matter, Ruben Bain does. Now, at this point, I definitely think Ruben or David Bailey is going to go ahead of Ruben Bain. I think that he's the better run defender compared to Ruben Bain, and I think that that's going to be a big selling point of Bailey's. But I still think Arvell Reese will be the second overall pick. But it seems like David Bailey's stock has really risen over the last couple of weeks. Number 3, I actually think is probably the second easiest pick to make in the draft. I think that the Cardinals want Francis Maui-Noah. They need help on the other side of Paris Johnson Jr. Francis Maui-Noah gives you that help. He's the best right tackle in this draft. He's the best tackle in this draft. I don't think there's too much debate to be had about it. And all that to say that I think that it is going to be a locked in, pretty easy pick for the Cardinals on draft day. So this is really where I think the draft is going to start, because I do pretty firmly believe that these will be the first 3 picks. I I guess that I have been seeing David Bailey get mocked at 2. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Arvell Reese will be the number 2 overall pick. We'll see what we hear over the coming days, but this is really where I think the draft starts. And at 4, I think there are really 2 players, maybe 3, that the Titans are considering: Jeremiah Love, Ruben Bain, and David Bailey, with Ruben Bain kind of being on the edge uh, of that conversation. But I'm going to have the Titans go with Jeremiah Love. You're just not going to have an opportunity to get a running back like Jeremiah Love for a very long time. This guy is a top tier running back talent. I don't think he's quite on the level of uh Bijan Robinson when he came out a couple years ago. I would compare him to Ashton Genty, how his stock was last year. The only reason why Jeremiah Love is going ahead of these guys is because this draft class is just weaker than the last couple of years. But I think that Jeremiah Love is just an elite running back prospect, has so much explosiveness, ran under a 4.40, I want to say as well, which is really insane for his build. So I think that he'll be able to contribute more than pretty much any other player can right off the bat in this draft. And I think he'll be the runaway favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year as well. He's just a very good prospect. And as a Colts fan, that it's a little scary to see Jeremiah Love go into your division. Next up, we have the New York Giants. I think there's two players for me that I'm really considering here. I did a draft before this just to prepare a little bit, and I had them taking Mansour Delane. Now I kind of want to switch it up and go with Caleb Downs instead. And it's really just because Caleb Downs is such a John Harbaugh player. You think what John Harbaugh wants in a player, he wants a guy that will die on the field. Not literally, but put put every foot forward uh into winning and doing anything to win, and that is Caleb Downs. He also uh he has no red flags character wise. He's a great athlete. There's just so much good to say about him, and I think that that's what John Harbaugh really is going to be looking for in a prospect, and I think that that's really going to appeal to them at 5. The argument for Mansour Delane as well, you need secondary help, and Mansour Delane plays a much more important position. Granted, I think Downs is a much better player, but I not much better player, but I think that 5 is a little bit high for Mansour Delane. At number 6, we are actually going to have a trade. And I should have mentioned that at the start of the video that we are going to have trades in this video. We're only going to have a couple. But we are going to have the Cowboys trading up. That has been in the news nonstop recently that the Cowboys want to trade up in the draft for a certain player named David Bailey. And if David Bailey makes it to 6, I think that Cleveland are the type of team that just want to get as many picks as possible. And so what I'm going to have them do is trade down 12 and 20 for 639. And yeah, I think that that's so pretty much the Browns get an extra first round pick. It's not a huge crazy jump, so the Cowboys still get back a second. I think that this would probably be pretty fair compensation for the deal. And this trade goes through, obviously, because I'm controlling all the teams. And the Cowboys are going to take David Bailey. Now, David Bailey really is not like you can say that and I'm guarantee you, if they end up drafting David Bailey, the headline is going to be the Cowboys draft their new Micah Parsons. David Bailey is nothing like Micah Parsons. Don't think that at all. Uh, he is a much more on the ball edge rusher. I get that Micah Parsons has moved more towards that, but I think that David Bailey has the potential to move inside just a little bit to help more on the run in a way that Micah Parsons can't quite. But I also think that obviously, as you can imagine, Micah Parsons clears David Bailey when it comes to the pass rush. Next up, we have the Washington Commanders, and we are going to have the first receiver going off the board in Carnell Tate. I'm a big believer that we are not going to see any of the big receivers in this draft making it out of the top 12 ish picks, and we'll get through that. And the reason why I believe that is because teams need receiver, and these top 3 receivers are very, very good. They are receiver is probably the strongest position in this draft class, but I think there's a big fall off once you get past Casey Concepcion as the number 5 receiver in this class. So I think that being able to get one of those 5 guys, and you're going to see in this video that all 5 of those guys are moving up the draft for me. It's possible that nobody really wants wide receiver and they all get moved down, but I definitely think that it is going to be quite the opposite here. At number 8, we have the New Orleans Saints, and I think they are going to take Ruben Bain. Obviously, there was some pretty horrible news that came out that involved Ruben Bain recently regarding a crash he was in that killed a woman. At the end of the day, this is something that you can look it up. Draft analysts have known about this. NFL teams have known about this. Uh, it's a horrible situation. Um, I hope that it doesn't get over talked about because it got released that the family of the victim did not want this information to be released. They did not press charges. So I don't really know what I don't expect there to be any drop off, and I really hope this isn't something that we just focus on nonstop throughout the draft. That's typical stuff with the media that they do, but hopefully they do not. At number 9, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. We are going to have them take Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson seems to be moving right back up draft boards after it seems like he was sliding for just a little bit. I think the Chiefs are a perfect team to take him because I don't think that they desperately need receiver in the way that other teams do. You do still have Xavier Worthy. You still have Rashi Rice. Who knows if he's actually going to play in 2026? I still assume they're going to sign Tyreek Hill, but who knows? Who knows? I don't think that that stops you from drafting Jordan Tyson, which means you don't need Jordan Tyson to be ready right away. He can work himself back and be ready to be on the field fully healthy. And I think that not a lot of teams, especially you think the Commanders and the Dolphins and the Browns for that matter, three very running back needy teams, do not need they desperately need the help at wide receiver. The Chiefs need receiver, but not as desperately. They have depth, just no real star there, assuming that Rashi Rice is never available to play. Um, so that's why I think that Jordan Tyson will end up going to the Chiefs. Obviously, you'll always have the injury concerns with him, but I I think that it's what makes it so weird is because all it takes is one team to take him. Otherwise, maybe you could fall out of the first round, or you could go comfortably in the top 10, like I have him today. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. This one becomes tough because I had them taking Caleb Downs. And I think that it's interesting here because they could simply just take Dylan Thieneman here. Uh, and honestly, I think that the board is in a pretty interesting place for them. And I'm now actually in real time having to make a decision over who to pick. Uh, Somebody that I would throw out that they could take is Keldrick Falk. Kind of fits the bill for a Bengals player, in my opinion, and I think he would be a good secondary option to Shamar Stewart that they drafted recently. And you know what? I'm gonna take Dylan Thieneman here. We're gonna say that Dylan Thieneman safeties are a hot commodity in this draft. They usually aren't, but the Bengals desperately need help at that position. Dylan Thieneman is an exceptional safety, and I imagine that he's going to play a bit more of a free safety role. When you think of Caleb Downs, I think Caleb Downs is going to come down quite a lot, potentially play like the Kyle Hamilton role in the NFL. Dylan Thieneman, don't really see that. I think he's going to line up a lot as like your free safety, stay back, stay central. So I think that honestly anybody in that deep line would help quite a lot for the Bengals. So that is who we're going to go with there. And then at number 11, we are going to have the Miami Dolphins going Makai Lemon, getting the big three receivers off the board, like I talked about before. Makai Lemon, I don't like him quite as much as some other people do. I still think that he is going to, in all likelihood, be a top 15 pick, but I struggle a little bit with him, to be honest. I honestly would not be surprised if Omar Cooper goes ahead of him on draft day. Still, Makai Lemon, obviously the really lazy, easy comparison to him is Amon St. Brown. Really good with his hands catching the ball. Can't quite go up there and get it as much, but I think that Makai Lemon, he's still a very good player, a very high potential player, and somebody that when the Dolphins desperately need somebody to build their offense around, Makai Lemon should be able to do the job for them. Now at number 12, I think the Browns could not be happier with how the board fell for them. And Monroe Freeling is just the easy pick here. Obviously, you question why would the Browns trade down? Because for a team to trade up, a team always has to be willing to trade down. And when it comes to the Browns, if they're just not sure, do we take tackle? Do we take receiver? why not just let the board fall to you? Now, maybe somehow all three receivers and Monroe Freeland go off the board, but they also even mentioned liking Caden Proctor. You now have two more picks in the first round of this draft, so you're gonna have bites at the apple to get who you want. And I think that Monroe Freeling is probably the number one player that the Browns want, being able to slot in at that left tackle. You signed Titus Howard in the offseason to play right tackle. Don't think that stops you from taking a right tackle either, like some people think, uh, but Monroe Freeling would be a plug and play starter for this team. Next up, we are going to have the LA Rams. I think that they would just lock in Mansour Lane here. That it feels like such a easy pick for me. I get that I know that they signed, I want to say, did they trade for Trent McDuffie? Is that what I think they signed Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson. Let's see. I'm looking it up now. Okay, yeah, they did sign Trent McDuffie. I actually, you know what? We're gonna take this back. Oh, could I just give some credit quickly? This hasn't been a thing in past years, but undue pick is a great feature from PFF to implement. But instead, I am going to go with Spencer Fano here. I think that their need for tackle isn't quite as big as some people make it out to be. But if Spencer Fano is still on the draft board at this point, there's no reason not to take him in my mind. He can be either a plug and play starter at your right tackle position or let him sit for a little while and then move in. I also think he has tackle to guard flexibility. So you could even start him out as your right guard. I think you would have Steve Avila on your left side, and then you move him out to tackle when need be, or you just leave him there. Period. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is where the Sunny Styles fall is going to end. It's not really much of a fall, to be honest. More than that, I just don't feel like there are a lot of teams that need a true linebacker. Now, the Ravens just need help all over the defensive side of the ball. And really, my mindset here is just taking the best player available. Roquan Smith isn't getting any younger. Uh, there's so many ifs and maybes on this Ravens defense, and getting what I think is a top 5 player in this class and Sonny Styles at pick 14 is just a can't miss pick in my mind. Next up, uh we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this is an interesting Kenyon Sadiq spot for sure, but I'm actually going to have them go Akeem Mesidor. I know this is a very popular spot for him as well, but I think just the fact that he you have the Florida connection there. I'm not sure how well you can say that Miami and Tampa Bay get along though, but you have a clear plug and play starter here. In my mind, he fits the Todd Bowles defense quite well. And when you're Todd Bowles desperately trying to grasp onto your table as a head coach, then getting a guy that can be a plug and play starter, obviously he's a little bit on the older side, but because of that, he might be the most polished edge defender coming out of the draft. So I think that that's really what the Buccaneers are looking for, and they can get that in Mesidor. Next up, we have the New York Jets. I originally had them uh, taking Omar Cooper. That was before Mansour Delane fell all the way to 16, which is incredibly ironic because I had him going up 5 in my mock draft I did for reference here, which has just gone to crap at this point. So, but if you're the Jets and Mansour Lane is on the on the board at 16, I don't even think you take 2 seconds to think about it. You just instantly put in that pick and go with it. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions here, and there is quite a few options for them here. I think they could be a Keldrick's Falk spot for sure, but I'm actually going to have them going Caden Proctor to go a little bit higher in the draft than some people may think. And part of the reason is just because the Lions are a left tackle needy team. And Caden Proctor is the best left tackle remaining. Maybe you could argue Caleb Lomu as well. I do think Proctor is the better player, but Proctor gives you the opportunity to really mold him. He is a raw prospect, but has incredible size for the position. And I think he's somebody that any GM or coach would really love to have because there's a lot you can do with that kind of size. So it's a lot more teaching the fundamentals than the actual size stuff, which are just you can't teach, obviously. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, I had taken Dylan Thieneman, which I now cannot. So, what do I want to do here? I think that instead I am going to take, you know what? I'm just going to take Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Just plug in, instead of having Dylan Thieneman here, you just take Emmanuel McNeil Warren instead. Now, Emmanuel McNeil Warren does not quite do what Dylan Thieneman would do for you. I know that Harrison Smith pretty much played all over the field for the Vikings, but if I were to tell you what position he played, I would say he was a free safety, a deep safety, uh, which I wouldn't consider Emmanuel McNeil Warren as much so. I'd consider him a bit more of a box safety. I would look at him a bit more like Nicky Memori from last year's draft class. Obviously, really good player, finished second in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. But I still think you just need so much help in that secondary, and Emmanuel McNeil Warren gives you that. And because of that, when I think that there was a good chance that the Panthers would have taken him, just locking Kenyon Sadiq, such an easy pick. You have Jatavion Sanders and Tommy Tremble as your tight ends. That's not going to stop you from taking Kenyon Sadiq. He's a elite tight end prospect. I wouldn't consider him quite as good as like Brock Bowers or Kyle Pitts, but I wouldn't consider him any lower down than Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland from last year, who obviously both win the top 15. Kenyon Sadiq goes a bit lower here, but I think Kenyon Sadiq could go as high as 9 to the Kansas City Chiefs. So he also has insane vertical, insane 40 time too for a tight end. So there's just a lot to like with him. And this is where our second trade is going to be of the video. We are going to have the Browns trading down again. I think it usually you don't see teams hold on to 3 picks in the first round. So I think that the Browns are really going to try to shop this pick. And what I really think here is that teams are going to be looking for Ty Simpson. You have the Steelers here at 21. Imagine you have the opportunity to deny your division rival of their quarterback of the future. And I think that the where are they? The Arizona Cardinals, there we go. Press the wrong one. Arizona Cardinals are going to be the team to trade up. I think 34 and 65 for 20 is a pretty fair assessment here. Maybe instead of 65, you go for a second round pick next year. We're going to go for 65. Doesn't matter for this. But um, I think that the Cardinals would be a prime candidate to trade up, and they would take Ty Simpson to be their quarterback of the future, denying the Steelers the opportunity to take him. Obviously, Ty Simpson is, in my opinion, is nowhere near the talent level of Fernando Mendoza, but he's still for what is, for the most part, a pretty weak quarterback class. He is still clearly the second best quarterback. So if you want a quarterback talent in this class, you have to get him before somebody else can. And I really firmly do believe that Ty Simpson will be a first round pick because of that. And in fact, here I have him going at pick 20, so going in the top 20 picks. So I do honestly think that if Ty Simpson gets 21, that there's a really good chance that the Steelers take him. They obviously can't now, meaning that they have to look elsewhere. I think that there are two pretty interesting options here. We have Vega Ioane, and I also think taking Max Iheanacho or Caleb Lomu here are both interesting options. And the case of taking Max Iheanacho, who is a right tackle, you would move Troy Fautanu over to the left side, where I want to say he played some in college, anyways, and you would be given up on Broderick Jones, or maybe trying him in at guard. I think that would be an interesting test with him. But uh, you know what? I'm actually going to overrule all that I said, and we are going to take Jermod McCoy and his fall here. And the the Steelers aren't the most corner needy team, but they're not in a great spot when it comes to their corner positions. Let's actually, so I have our lads pulled up here that we can take a look at. Let's go ahead and take a look at who the Steelers have. They obviously have Jalen Ramsey. They have Joey Porter, who has definitely been a bit of a disappointment in the NFL. Uh, and so right now their cornerback or their cornerbacks are, oh, maybe they don't have Jalen Ramsey anymore. I didn't actually, did he get traded back to the Dolphins? I don't actually remember what happened with him. But you have Joey Porter, Jamel Dean, okay, and Brandon Eccles, and then they signed Asante Samuel as well. I actually do like Asante Samuel, but none of this stops you uh from taking Jermod McCoy in my mind. Jermod McCoy, the one advantage it does give you is because you have some options. He doesn't need to be ready to go at the start of the season with his injuries. I do think he will be, but I do still think that Jermod McCoy, maybe it's not the biggest position of need, but I think that he would fit in with the Steelers well. Next up, we have the Chargers. I would just run in this pick straight to the draft box, and that is taking Vega Ioane here at 22. The Chargers' offensive line is a disaster, especially given their injuries to Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt from last year. You still desperately need help at guard, and Vega Ioane should do that. They obviously have Mekhi Becton, though I don't know how good he actually is. I think he got carried by looking good on a incredible Eagles offensive line. So you take Vega Ioane here and be happy about it in my mind. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. This is where I think Heldrick Falk will go. Feels like honestly, really does feel like a Howie Roseman pick to me. Just a really, really young guy. I want to say Keldrick Falk is only 20. Yeah, he's literally only 20, and he is a raw prospect, but as a freshman, I want to say he had like 8 or 9 sacks, which is pretty amazing. He had 9 sacks his sophomore season. I get that he didn't have a lot of production this past year, but sacks aren't everything. I still think that he's got a lot of potential both in the passing game and the running game, stopping the ball. So, oh man, I've got something in my eye. Apologies for messing with that nonstop for the last couple of minutes here. But yeah, Keldrick Fulch just feels like a really easy pick for the Eagles here. And now that he hasn't gone 8 picks higher, Omar Cooper is just a super easy pick for me to the Cleveland Browns. Doesn't have to go too far away to get to Cleveland, maybe 5 hours from Bloomington, Indiana. I guess that's not that close, but I think that the Browns are so needy of receiver, and Omar Cooper could potentially be your number one receiver right off the bat. So I think that that's just a really, really easy pick for them. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears. I am going to have them taking Peter Woods. Peter Woods, I know, has been a little bit all over the place with where he's been getting drafted by a bunch of analysts. I think he's going to end up going in the first round. I think that he just has that tape over the course of his career. I know his tape last year kind of sucked, but if you go back 2 years ago, it looks really, really good. And a lot of people coming into the year had him as their number one overall player. And the Bears, they obviously have Grady Jarrett. I don't think that Peter Woods is quite the same player as Grady Jarrett is. I view Grady Jarrett as almost as almost a nose tackle in sense. I know he doesn't really play as a nose tackle, but Peter Woods honestly has some flexibility to move outside if need be. So you can let Grady Jarrett be more of a pure run stopper, while Peter Woods can really focus on having a diverse portfolio. So I think that adding them together, and it's not like Grady Jarrett's young either. He's 32 years old. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills, and I am going to have them taking CJ Allen. Obviously, you lose uh, over the last couple of years. You've lost Tremaine Edmonds, you've lost Matt Milano. You still have Terrell Bernard in there, but I don't really think that stops you from taking a linebacker, especially one that a lot of people consider in the top 20 players of this class. I'm iffy on that, but I still think CJ Allen is a good prospect, a really good linebacker, and should, in theory, plug and play as a starter for the Buffalo Bills. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers, and I am going to have them taking Caleb Lomu. Anytime that I've done a draft over the last 5 months, pretty much, even on my own time, I've had them taking Caleb Lomu because I just think that it makes so much sense to get your Trent Williams replacement and being able giving whoever the replacement is an opportunity to sit behind uh for 1 year, I think really will help. And yeah, I think that's a pretty easy pick for the 49ers to make. Next up, we have the Texans, and this is either Blake Miller or Max Iannaccio. They have such a mess on their offensive line. I think Max Iannaccio is the better player. They're both right tackles, so you really have your pick of either one. I think Max Iannaccio is the better player, so I'm going to go with him. But Blake Miller very much could be the pick too. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, who are picking here at 29, and this is the pick that the Chiefs got from trading Trent McDuffie to the Rams. And speaking of trading Trent McDuffie to the Rams, this pick is very easy for me because Avion Terrell is still on the board and gives you your Trent McDuffie replacement. Now, I honestly wouldn't quite consider them the same profile build. I think that Avion Terrell can line up in the slot a little bit more than Trent McDuffie can. I view Trent McDuffie as a pretty purely outside the hashes guy, while Avion Terrell has a bit more flexibility. Obviously, we're comparing apples to oranges here. Avion Terrell is not taking an NFL snap, while Trent McDuffie is a borderline All-Pro player at points of his career. So it's I more of just who you're replacing with who. But I think that Avion Terrell, that's just such an easy pick for the Chiefs to make. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins, and I just think that you kind of round this out and take Blake Miller here. You just took a receiver in Mekhi Lemon early in the draft. You really are building out your offense, giving Malik Willis opportunities to succeed. You take Blake Miller here to be a starter at tackle. I want to say that Patrick Paul out of Houston is their starter at the moment. Definitely does not stop you from taking Blake Miller. So that's the pick there. Next up, uh, we have the New England Patriots, and this is where I'm going to have Cassius Howell go. I think Cassius Howell actually gives a really interesting addition to this Patriots defensive line because it's very run defend heavy. While Cassius Howell, in my mind, is like almost purely a pass rusher, at least in the NFL. So he he has very small arms, so that's what his big criticism has always been. But I think when you already have Christian Barmore in there at technically playing as a three tech edge rusher for this team, so you put Cash Towel on the other side of him. I think that's a recipe for success in my mind. And finally, we have the Seattle Seahawks. I know that some people like giving them Jadarian Price here. I don't think that Jadarian Price is a first rounder. And just talking about a few of these other guys, Casey Concepcion, I really thought was going to go in the first round for me. And he did. He went at 24 for me, but because it's just the way things went down, because Mansour Lane fell, the Jets didn't take one. There just aren't a lot of receiver needy teams in this area of the draft. Maybe the Patriots could have taken him, but Cassius Howell, I just really don't see falling out of the first round. Caden McDonald is somebody that's been jumping up draft boards. I don't think he's going to be a first round pick personally. Caleb Banks is somebody that I definitely think could sneak into the first round, but I think that he's behind Peter Woods. And they pretty much kind of play the same role. Maybe Caleb Banks is a bit more of a. I guess that's a lie that they play the same role. Caleb Banks has potentially more of like a nose tackle in the NFL. I think Emmanuel Pregnon could sneak in the first round for sure, especially to at 28 to the Texans. And outside of that, none of these other guys I really see sneaking into the first round. But with our final pick, I know I didn't mention him specifically for this reason. Wow. We're going to have the Seattle Seahawks taking Colton Hood. Obviously, you lose Tariq Woolen. You lose. Who else? They lost their entire secondary pretty much outside of Devon Witherspoon. But you get Colton Hood to replace him. Right now, I want to say Josh Jobe would be considered their starter. Colton Hood, I think, would probably start over Josh Jobe. So you bring him in to be the as a new cornerback, and that is it. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. That is all I have for today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts. Who do you think is going to be? Why don't you give me your top 10 picks? Don't give me the whole first round. You can if you want to, but I don't want to make you take all the time to type that out. So maybe just your top 10 picks. Tell me if there were any picks you really liked, thought were absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts on the trades as well, and if you think they could happen. That is about it for today, and have a good one. See you next time. Bye.